this is Liz. Welcome to my little urban homestead and welcome to Fabric Friday. Oven gloves. I did one on oven gloves first try a few years ago, but it didn't quite work out. Since then I've made a few pairs and that's what I'm doing again today. These are for, well, I'm actually making apron, oven gloves, pot holders for the kitchen for me and a friend. So it's a present. So it's one of the rare occasions where I'm doing more than one. For this, I'm using the same fabric on both sides of the oven glove. And the oven glove measures 28 inches by 8 inches. I've got 2 pieces of fabric either side of a piece of wadding batting. I've also got in a small piece of Insel Bright, which will be going next to the bit that will come in contact with the casserole dish, the plate, wherever you're taking out of the oven. For the glove outers, these are 8.5 inches by 8 inches. So that's 2 bits of fabric and just a piece of wadding batting inside, and that's 1, that's 2. What I'll do first of all, I've got this, I've cut some binding 1.5 inches wide, and I'm going to sew it on the top end and then turn it over on the top end of the oven glove. So from here on outwards, I think we'll be at the sewing machine. As I'm making several, I'm going to be chain piecing. Well, not several, I'm making 2, but there's 4 pieces that are needed for the outer of the glove. So I'm just sewing it together. And as I said, chain piecing. So get the next one underneath. It could be on top, doesn't matter which way I have it. It's easier for me though having this on top. You might want to use a walking foot with these because it will help to stop the fabrics shifting so much. I've sewn across there, and what I'm going to do now is turn it over, fold it so it meets the edge of the oven glove, and then fold it over again, and that's all I'm doing, and that will bind the end. I've already done one of these, but this is another one of the oven gloves, and because there's a possibility of the insides going in, you can either pin them or baste stitch them all down. Right, what I'm doing now, I've cut a 2-inch strip which I have sewn together to make it longer. Yeah, so this middle bit here, in between where your hands will go, the glove part, I'm just going to line it up and once it's lined up, drop my needle down and then just stitch this onto it. It's completely open, it's not folded over or anything like that. Just back tack a touch. Now all along checking that your seams are facing out. You don't want to stitch them so that they're facing inwards. Same again when you've got the glove part as well as the bottom part. You want to make sure that none of your seams are facing in, because you don't want that to happen. Clip off, and I think I've actually videoed this bit, right? And try and get them so that they meet. You might want to do this with a walking foot. Basically, I couldn't be bothered to put mine on. Just for this bit. Turn the corner. This is how I put the binding onto a quilt, because I'm no good at doing curves. So I do straight lines, straight corners binding. And you just go round stitching it on, and whoops, when I get back to where I started, I'll come back to you. I've now got round to where I started, and I just want to show you how I finish these off during the binding together. The bit that you started, that's possibly a bit too long, so we'll chop it off. Rather have it too long and cut it down than not long enough and have to piece. So now, if you fold that up to the top so you've got a diagonal there, finger press it, now lay the strip that was the ending of it over the top. Make sure it's nice and taut. With this fabric I can see through it, but basically where you cut the other, where the folded bit is, cut that bit. Now, if you can see, you've got there, and you've got a line exactly where you need to sew. So you can pull this bottom bit in, just get a clip and hold it. Because it does twist on you. It doesn't want to stay where you want it to. And then see, that's how it will lie there. But as I say, with creasing it, you've now got a line where to sew. So fold your work in half. Hold on to it with one hand so it doesn't move away. Put your foot down on the crease. Drop your needle in and then sew along the crease. You can take a couple of stitches back. Threads tied round. That's it. If you lay it back out and put it down, that's what you do before you cut this bit off, and you'll see it will lay nicely. So now we can get scissors. Trim there, 1/4 of an inch. 1/2 an inch seam allowance, whichever you want, but it's diagonal, so it's spreading the bulk, although with me doing it on this middle bit it's not as bulky as the end. And then just open the seam up, finger press it down, put your work back under, figure out where you were, there. And attach that now in place. Couple of stitches back. See, the opposite side, I've got one that actually joined it together. And once it's bound round, you won't know which is which. That's it, and I'm back to the starting stitches. That's it. And that's where you've joined it. And this is where you joined the long strips together before you sewed it on, and they look more or less identical. So now turn it over and we fold it in half. Well, get the raw edges to meet the raw edges of your oven glove and the raw edges of your binding tape, and then take it over and stitch it down. I'll do it in a couple of places first and then that's it. I think 2 inches is a little too big. Oh, better too big than too small. And stitch it all down. And that's your oven gloves done. Had you wanted to put a hook in, as you're stitching the last bit down, when it's just one side, you can put it in then. If I wanted to put one in now, I would actually tuck it. There's my binding. I would tuck the ribbon or the tie, whatever, there. Bring my binding over and stitch them both in at the same time. But I don't want a hook on this, so I'm just going to stitch it down now. So here's the oven glove. Put your hand in one side, put your hand in the other side, and it's all fully bound. I'll just show you what else I've done with this fabric. An apron to match the oven gloves. 2 aprons and 2 pairs of oven gloves. One set for me and one set for a present. Now I think I'm going to make some heat pads.